My name's Elliot and I went from getting fired at my 9-to-5 job to then becoming an Amazon delivery driver to then building a 6-figure Airbnb business in just over 12 months. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. So if you're looking to get started in Airbnb too, you can do exactly the same thing. Now, I'm pretty fortunate to be in a position where I don't have to work that many hours on my business and I can pretty much travel and work from anywhere in the world. So this is my story about how exactly I started to the position that I'm in today. If I rewind it back to when I was young, I've always wanted to be successful, always wanted to have nice things and live a good life. And I was always hustling. So I was that kid in school that was selling chocolates and sweets, just trying to make a bit of change. And even if I fast tracked to sort of university times, I tried a few different business ventures. I remember one was like a trading business, like Forex, and it didn't really work out too well. But I was always trying to do something because I realized that unless you had a really top high paying job, you needed to have a business or some sort of assets like properties that actually generate wealth. So when I went to university, it was more a case of me just trying to buy myself a little bit of time and at the same time experiment with different opportunities and business ventures while I was there. So it wasn't necessarily for me to just get a degree and go straight into work like what most people generally would. That being said, it didn't really go to plan because 3 years went by just like that. Now I've graduated, I'm no longer a student, I'm unemployed, my business venture didn't work out and I had no income. So at this period in time, we were just sort of going through that whole kind of COVID-19 lockdown. And I remember playing football in the park with some of my friends. And one of them, who was my friend from college and now my business partner, we were sort of just talking about sort of property, and we said, you know, why don't we give this rent-to-rent journey a go? We had a little bit of money between us that we'd sort of saved up from here and there. And we thought, you know what, let's put it together and invest into sort of a rent-to-rent deal. And this could be maybe a little business that we could perhaps grow up. So that was it. A couple of weeks later, we then set up a business and just started contacting landlords and estate agents, north, south, east, west, anywhere and everywhere, just trying to get a property. And you know how it goes, rejection after rejection at the beginning. No landlord wanted to hear it, hanging up the phones, telling us it's illegal. It didn't really go too well. So after a couple of months, I started to get a little bit more discouraged because you kind of lose that initial like fire of motivation that you have when you first set up the business. And then it really started to kind of hit home in reality that I've now left university like 6 months ago. I've got no income, my business hasn't really gone anywhere. What do I do? And at the same time, my parents were looking at me like, son, you've just been to university, you've invested all this money in a degree, are you not going to use it? So I decided to start looking for jobs. Because my degree was in accounting with finance, I wanted something like finance related. And I actually managed to land like a decent role in financial markets. And after I got that job, I was pretty chuffed. Yeah, it was a decent company. And I was thinking, you know what, maybe this is my destiny. Maybe this is what I was actually meant to be. I'm gonna work my way up to maybe 150K salary, have a few properties on the side, and then that would be me. So after I started the role, I still continued to contact estate agents and landlords. And then within a couple of months, we actually managed to land our first property. So this was a rent-to-rent deal up in Birmingham. It was just an HMO. We were a little bit too scared of Airbnb at the time because the upfront cost was a little bit more because of the furnishing. And at the same time, we were worried, oh, are we gonna get booked? Are we gonna have to pay rent out of pocket? With an HMO, it was a lot more guaranteed because we really had a tenant lined up. So that particular property, we made £200 profit, which literally is nothing in the grand scheme of things. But for us, it was more just proof of concept. We knew that this now works. We'd got one. There's no reason why we wouldn't be able to get 5, 10, 15 plus. So at this point, I'm feeling great. I've just settled into my new job. I've got my first property. Everything's going smoothly. A few weeks later now, I walk into the office one day. My manager pulls me to the side and literally just fires me on the spot. He doesn't want to work with me. A load of reasons. I didn't really agree with it. But I remember it was like 11 AM. I literally had to get kicked. I got kicked out of the office. I'm standing on the streets of Canary Wharf, just scratching my head thinking like, where the hell did this all go wrong? So that was a bit of a blow. And I was almost at this cross points now of, I've just been fired from my job. We've got this one property. Do I just continue looking for more jobs or do I just try and go all in on property? So I kind of made the decision in my mind, well, I'll just try and stick with property for now and see where it can take me. And went back to the phones, we were struggling to get new deals, weren't really getting anything new. And at the same time, £200 isn't enough to live off. And the way I done that was by doing Amazon delivery driving. So I was delivering parcels out of the van. At the same time, I was trying to make calls where I could. I'd like pull over to the side of the road or stop on my lunch break and stuff, just trying to get the next deal. And using that job, I was able to save up a little bit more money and then put into what was our first Airbnb deal that we managed to get within the next sort of month or so. Now, at this point, we were ready to kind of take the risk in terms of taking on a property, risking whether or not we get bookings. But we'd seen other people do it and we kind of knew the concept worked. So it was just about kind of taking the risk. And luckily that risk paid off massively. So that property ended up making near enough like £1,000 profit in a month within the first sort of few weeks. We got some really nice bookings that came through, some nice long-term bookings. And that one was just like, cool, now we know Airbnb, this is where it's at. Let's just try and double down on this. And pretty much over the next several months, we literally started doubling down, acquiring more units. At this point, because we had a couple in our portfolio already, it was a bit more credibility to go to other landlords with, because it was like, they actually knew we were legitimate, we were actually operating, and we were actually capable of managing their property. So at this point, we'd actually acquired quite a few rent-to-rent deals, and we were now able to actually pull some money out of the business. Up until this point, I've just put everything in it, not only my money, finances, just like my time, energy, my hairline, everything was just going straight into this business and nothing was coming out. So it felt good to now get to a position where it's like, cool, I can actually start sort of reaping in the rewards of all these kind of seeds that I've been sowing. And of course, like anything in life, and especially in business, it's like you can never really predict the way things are gonna go. And from there, it just went south. Like honestly, I remember we took on this one deal. It was an HMO, and it was like I think a 7 or 8 bedroom house. The rent was near enough like £5,000, and we just struggled to get people in there. We couldn't get tenants. We were paying rent out of pocket. And in the end, we had to just give the property back to the estate agent because we were just losing money on it. So that was a big loss. And then I had to stop taking money from the business. At that point, I'm back at Amazon. Then literally after a month from then, we took on an Airbnb, or we thought we were taking on an Airbnb in sort of like prime London, and it turned out to be a scam. So the landlord was a fake landlord. He was basically just someone posing as a landlord. He just found the property online, posted pictures of it. He basically robbed us for a first month's rent and deposit. So that one was tough, because I remember I put on nice clothes. I took the train to London, met this guy, met him at the property, handed me over the keys, we signed a contract, and it turns out it wasn't his property, it was just an Airbnb he just rented online. So that was a massive blow. And again, we lost near enough like £4,000. So this is money that we just started to make, and then it's just losing like left, right, and center. And there was a few other things that were going wrong in the business as well. But I always say, I feel like this was the most pivotal moment on my property journey, because I remember sitting down with my business partner and we were just saying like, we've got to sort this out. We've got to put in an actual system or some sort of a process in place of how we're actually going to operate. Because at this point, we were just like a WhatsApp group chat that had just kind of blown up and now become a business, because it was just chaotic. Messages flying around. Like most of the things of how we were operating, I was just storing in my memory, like all the lockbox codes, I was just remembering it in my head. There was nothing written down. Like things were just all over the place, and it was just becoming our detriment. So I think sitting down and really spending like a couple of months of just building out processes, standardized ways of how every little thing within our business should run, it just massively helped. And then we hired staff, it helped us streamline. And then from there, like sort of our customer service in terms of what we were giving to the guests just went up. Our reviews started to go up. We started getting more bookings, making more money. And at this point, we started getting management deals as well. So the landlords that we were working with, they were giving us referrals to other landlords, and we were getting a lot of business. These aren't even like rent-to-rent deals at this point. We're not putting any money into it. We're simply just managing it, taking 15% from all of the bookings, and like we just grew absolutely rapidly. And within a space of like 12 months, I think we took on like 15 properties. Like it was crazy. It was a mad little period in time. But I remember kind of looking around one day, and it was like, I refreshed the bank account. I was like, damn, like, is that how much money we've got on the account? Like, I hadn't really even noticed, because we were just building and just working. It's like we hadn't really had the time to kind of process what we'd built and what we'd done. And at that point, I was like, wow, we've actually come a long way. From that first one HMO in Birmingham for £200 a month profit to now managing over 30 properties, dealing with like all these investors nationwide. Yeah, it was crazy. So honestly, I think Airbnb is such a great business model. And for anyone that's thinking about starting or is on the fence, my only advice to you would be simply just take action. Take action, and as long as you're willing to put in a bit of hard work, you'll see the results. I'm literally living proof of that, and I've seen other people do it time and time again. So if you are looking to get started and you want some extra support, I do actually help people get their first Airbnb in 90 days. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to send me a message on Instagram. But other than that, that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you found it entertaining, and I'll see you in the next one.